Okay, everybody, welcome to Cyber Bulls. Big topic today is the market is booming. And some of us think that Tesla will actually just catch that fire and move along. So let's talk about the market. Let's talk about the milestone that Teslas have, Nvidia. Let's start with you, Christian. Tell us what's going on in the market these days.
Yeah, it was a big day in the markets. We had, for me, Nvidia earnings was like going to be the Super Bowl because the last few days the market was kind of dragging down a little bit. Interest rates were moving up. The 10-year was moving up. Everybody was worried. You had some Fed chatter and everything, and everybody was focused on these Nvidia earnings, right? Because the stock had moved up so much, and it was like, is this justified, right? Is the AI revolution justified? We needed earnings to come through. And to be honest, Nvidia is the market leader. It is leading everything else. It's carrying a lot of companies associated with AI, companies that are making partnerships with Nvidia, and those valuations have gone up. So it needed to deliver, because if it didn't, you could question the markets. Why is it at highs, right? Why is the market rallying? Why is any of this happening, right? So Nvidia delivered. Jensen Huang, I mean, these earnings were incredible. Year over year numbers are incredible. I mean, like 200% plus revenues, profits, through the roof, free cash flow exploding. I mean, it delivered on everything. And then it also had to be perfect. So it had to guide perfect. And he guided perfect. He guided, next quarter, they guide 1 quarter in advance, and they smashed that. And then Jensen got on the call and he reiterated everything. There was not a doubt in his voice. There was not any questions about anything. It was, this is happening. We're going into enterprises. Every business will use this. It's going into financial. It's going into science. It's going into industry. It's going into sovereign AI, which is countries controlling their own data. We know Jensen's been talking about this, and I've been deeply in this. Like, I've been catching up the last few months, watching all of Jensen's interviews. And like, he believes this in his soul. And to me, he's very convincing. I think this is super real. And they think, so long story short, they killed earnings. The stock was up 16%, and everything rallied. The whole market, it carried it. So essentially everything went up with it, because the market was relieved that the earnings came through, and it justified why the market's high, and it justified the AI super cycle that we're going through. So it was very important, and they delivered. And so I'd love to get everyone else's thoughts, but it was a big market, a big market. I can't even talk because it was so big. It was a big market move, and it was justified. And I think this can continue now. And yeah, it'll chop around all year, but it solidified that we belong at the highs. And people call Nvidia a bubble. To me, it's not a bubble. If you look at the earnings and how much Nvidia has gone up compared to how much the earnings has gone up in hundreds of percents, it's killing it. And if you look on a forward basis, it's only trading a little bit over 30 times. So it's not a cheap stock. There is some expense to it, but it's not like, it's trading at 80 times forward or 200 times forward. It's literally trading like 30, 32 times, depending on what your 1 year estimates are, which I'm pitting it at a 24. So if you think they could go through this year and they could just end the year with a 40 trailing multiple, this is like almost $1,000 stock. If the multiple comes down all the way to 40 on a trailing basis, and you still have all these years of growth that Jensen's talking about. So if you believe in it, and you believe that AI will be in every part of our lives, in every industry, in every country, if you believe that, then the story's just getting started. We're in the first or second inning of this whole revolution.
The company and the product. Don't look at the quarterly stock movement.
As a trader, I got to take some off the table and wait for a better price.
A very realistic bull, questioning certain decisions.
The rational bull. We enjoy listening to bears.
Looking for the red flags. You're supposed to react.
Nvidia is driving the market, is what you're saying here. The stock market is in an all-time high. It's heading in that direction. Jeff wanted to share this, which shows you the earnings per share and revenue, the earnings reports by all the top Mag 7. You've got Apple here beats, Meta beat, Amazon beat, Microsoft beat, Google beat, Alphabet, and then Nvidia, of course, reported yesterday, and they beat big time as well. Tesla did not. Now, you said that it's an AI story. Everything's going to be AI. So many of these are AI booms. But as we'll talk about it, Tesla's FSD 12 is now coming into place. And so we'll see what happens in this coming year. What did you want to say about that, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, just to add a couple of points on NVIDIA, it's even hard to look at static PE when they're growing between earnings and revenue somewhere between 200 and 400%. So you if you look at it from a growth, that's a growth stock. So it's even hard to look at a static PE and even make an assumption off of it. It's growing so quickly. So very well deserved. And it's really at this whole core of the usage of GPUs over CPUs today, and this transition and the capability of what you can get with processing both on the network infrastructure side and the client side with their solutions. So, and there's a lot of noise. There was a lot of noise kind of coming into earnings, and there always is. But one of the things that I kind of keyed off of was all the major Mag 7 players that talked about building up their AI capability, talked about their partnership with Nvidia, and talked about that they're not getting as much compute as they want, and they want to buy a whole lot more this year. So to me, this wasn't a huge surprise. Again, Nvidia has pretty long lead times as well. This H100, H200 coming soon. These are all under supply constraints, so the lead times are long. So therefore, the people that buy this from Nvidia can't just drop orders in and get products. So there's no surprises of, even if somebody pulls their order out, there's 20 right behind it of people that want to step up and take products. So as long as you're on this thing called allocation, which is there's more demand than supply, significantly more demand supply, Nvidia is really in the driver's seat, and they know. I mean, that's why they can guide so confidently for the coming quarter. And really, honestly, they know their order book for the year. Now, will there be some movement as you get into the back half? Of course. The other thing is they're introducing new products, Blackwell, and they're introducing the H200, and they even call those out as supply risk, right? Because they're going from zero and they're ramping up. But that's how every new product starts. So that's really the only kind of risk that they can even call out, but it's pretty standard. But yeah, if you look at the reason I think the reason the market's up at an all-time high is, most stocks are beating, and many are raising guidance, and that's right now the S&P and equities themselves are overshadowing even the Fed speak for the and the interest rates. You saw the interest, the 10-year is up at I think over 4.3, but earnings will trump that. And as long as equity buyers and investors see that companies are beating their guide, even though this guidance is lowered for some companies except for Nvidia, they're beating it and they're raising future guidance. So that's going to overpower, I think, what's going on in macro markets. So now, if you look back at that graphic, a lot of people are beating estimates, and Tesla. I mean, they've missed. They were pretty close, both on the it wasn't like some massive miss on either of them. But I mean, I think from here on out, Tesla really has to, number one, kind of tell that story of like, we've studied the ship, like we figured out gross margins, we figured out our pricing strategy and what we're doing going forward. Now, you've heard recent automakers come out, including Rivian yesterday, and we'll talk a little bit about it later, but they're also starting to talk about the effects of interest rates on long duration, high dollar purchases. But, Tesla's got a story to tell because they went through the curve first. They went through their price reductions first. They went through the gross margin decline, relative gross margin decline. They're still in the, I would say, in the upper tercile of gross margins. They went through that first. So I think Tesla's got a story that they've got to tell in terms of the first step is kind of steadying the ship for this year. And then, what's coming in 2025, it's stuff that's starting. It's stuff that's going to be emerging. It's not going to be blanketing the bottom line per se, but it's going to be imminent. And the question is, how long would you sit on the sideline waiting for that versus getting in? That's the question investors got to answer.
Okay, so far it's been Nvidia. This is I made it look like the Brady Bunch here, so we're looking like the Brady Bunch. I don't know if you know this, Alexandra, but the Brady Bunch.
I do.
Marsha. That's all it is. It's all Nvidia. What about Tesla? Yeah, you're Marcia. So, let's take a look at this. And I want to ask you, Xander, because look at the changing of the guard here, right? You got Tesla in red, you got Apple in blue, and then you got Nvidia in green. And then now the green just finally, Nvidia just beat Tesla in terms of the most heavily traded company in a 30-day average. So Nvidia, the discussion about Nvidia is skyrocketing. People are trading it like crazy. So here's Christian. All he could talk about Nvidia. All I asked you to do, Christian, was talk about the economy, and you couldn't help yourself. Nvidia, and same with Jeff. So here's
The biggest story. The biggest story of the market.
it is. Yeah. So he's pushing, he's Superman, he's pulling along the market, and he's saving
saved the
humanity.
market.
By the way, you're standing right in front of it, so you're gonna get run over, dude. That's what this shows.
No, he saved my portfolio.
And own it, don't trade it. Booyah. Okay, sure. Oh my God, that's hilarious, Jim Cramer.
I love it.
So yeah, so I mean, come on. So Xander, right? Let's talk about this. Like, I think that Nvidia deserves it, and they definitely should skyrocket it way more than Tesla. Absolutely true. But isn't this a time to everybody's jumping ship from Tesla when Tesla just released FSC 12? This thing is going to be a killer. This is the time to think about Tesla again. What's your thinking about this, Xander?
Yeah, I completely agree with you that Nvidia deserves the credit. Their earnings are exploding, so they're going to get all the attention. That's fair, and if the AI play is where it's at, that's interesting. We get some background there. It's interesting that Tesla isn't getting any credit for AI, and that to me is the opportunity. You have you have Nvidia that if you look after hours did something very interesting yesterday. They went down to 645, and Christian and Jeff were all like back channeling. I'm like, it's a trap. It's a trap. Don't believe it. Look at what they just released, and how can there be such a sell-off going into it? So I didn't buy it, and I think the same thing will happen with Tesla. In my opinion, here's what I've been thinking: is you have the market's going to get frothy here, and Nvidia took them up, but then as we saw in the graphic, Tesla's underperformed. Is Tesla a better company in 2 years if you just zoom out to less than the what the market's looking at, which is the next year, and you look at 2 years? I think that you're going to have a rotation once that game of musical chairs is over out of Nvidia. You would have this rotation back into Tesla. Can it go lower? Can it go to 160s? All the stuff that we were talking about. It's possible. Historically, in an election year, the February to mid-March is kind of a downturn. There's comparisons of 1929 and looking at how that was, and how the market's at all-time high, and can it come down? People are looking for patterns, but I think we're dealing with a unique scenario now, and but my conviction in Tesla has not changed. And seeing a clip, AI Driver put out a clip where the FSD is on a very narrow street where you have to kind of hide behind cars and to let the other person pass. And the car pulled over, let the car pass, then it goes forward, it sees another car, it ducks behind the car and sees that car actually stopped, and it automatically, just went forward and proceeded so smooth. Allegedly, according to AI Driver, there was no input from him. So you're talking about software that's acting human-like, that is, able to make these decisions, and there's no human that coded that directly into the software. That to me is mind-boggling. People are, if you've moved on from Tesla, you're missing the point. This is a matter of patience and what Tesla is going to become. I think that chart that you just showed, it's going to be a reversal where Tesla becomes the number one player. I have not lost conviction. I'm buying shares on my Roth, and all the next distributions out of my businesses are going back into Tesla. I did play Nvidia a little bit and made a couple of bucks, but obviously you wish you went crazy knowing that the earnings, but I kind of called it that it was going to go to 750, and it actually blew my expectation out of the water. So Jeff called it. I mean I'm really glad that we're all discussing this, and it's really helpful to all of us that aren't tracking the market as good as you are, or you guys are, to have it on our radar. My question is, do you rotate out of Tesla, or what's your conviction like for Tesla for the next few years?
Go ahead, Alexandra.
Yeah, sure. So I didn't change. I'm still all in Tesla. I'm looking at you and trying not to be jealous, which is all good. So why don't I diversify? First of all, because once I invest with a certain time horizon, which you all know is very long, I'm not, shaking in my boots because something else is better. That is just not the way I function. I may do that with new money when it comes in. Whenever I allocate new money, I may, consider something else. That's what I did a couple of months ago with ASTS, the the satellite telephone company, for a small amount. That's what I may do in a couple of weeks with Alili. I explained that on Twitter a couple of days ago. But I'm not using, the bulk of my money, which is by far exceeding 95% of my investments, for anything else in Tesla. And I don't feel any need to change that now. If my theory changes, I will obviously let you know, but it didn't. I'm still as convinced on FSD. I never had, a huge portion of my belief system in robotaxi, and I still don't, because and I said that 3 years ago. For me, the issue with robotaxi is that you need regulators. I don't want to put money on regulators. That's just not the way I function. Bureaucrats is about the last thing I want to put my money in. But the whole bot situation, and I hope we're going to discuss that a little bit later on, makes me still so bullish on Tesla that I don't want to go out and have that issue of FOMO or feeling I'm missing it. So I'm still here, standing, and as convinced, sitting it out, waiting for the market to understand version 12. I think they're a little bit tired of seeing videos where they feel, okay, we're nearly there, but we're still not there. So it may take time, or it may take for Tesla to actually up it one level, going from level 2 to level 3, something where, people that are not in this Tesla sphere understand suddenly a change is happening. So that could be a good catalyst this year. We'll see. I'm still hoping that there are other OEMs trying to license FSD from Tesla, and I think we're closer than ever. Still hoping for the Mexican groundbreaking. I think we're seeing that. About 10 days ago, we saw the first precise job ads now for that side. I think it's all coming together. It just needs a little bit of patience now. And it's always less fun when you see other stocks skyrocket, while Tesla has been that train pulling everybody else 2 years ago. It obviously isn't it at the moment. So we just have to sit it out.
Yeah, I feel the same way as you do. So of course, Nvidia is a fantastic stock. It's if any investors who do that, it's great. Oh, how did this happen? There we go. Oh, are you switching it?
I'm sorry.
Were you controlling it?
I tried to make you big.
Thank you. But so, I mean, obviously it's a great investment. And like you guys were saying, right, the market is skyrocketing. Lots of great opportunities out there. What I find interesting about Tesla, of course, is that I've been using the word a lot, doldrums, right? The stock has been flat. It's actually gone down a lot. There's excitement is gone. But it's precisely in these moments that you have to remember what your thesis is, that Tesla is an AI company, it's an innovation engine. And it's actually now that you're seeing it play out in front of your eyes. In your mind, it's slow. But if you think about how quickly they did the bot, the Gen 2 that just dropped in December, the AI boom is very much something that shows you that the bot will be able to do useful work. It's almost like the confidence level that this is going to happen is so much so much higher than FSD or Robotaxi. Now FSD version 12 is dropped. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And version 12 so far, the reactions are fantastic. It's still too early, but there is like at least, I did a show where I had at least 8 videos of edge cases that version 11 has never been able to solve by different users. And now they show that version 12 can do this. This is the real deal. And so it certainly looks like right now, when you look at it, the stock has fallen. There's no exciting milestones. I'm going to go through my milestone list here, but this is the moment when Tesla, maybe not this year. I still believe it will happen this year. Many of us here don't think it's going to be this year that Tesla will actually show that.
I think with Tesla, it's a dangerous thing. I've been long the stock, and I continue to be long. Obviously, I've entered into other stocks. I've done that over the years too. I have trading positions, and I have long positions where I really don't touch them. But I have to say with Tesla right now, it's kind of in, they even said it, we're in between these two waves of growth right now. And so you can
pause? Sorry, the 2 waves of growth is specifically talking about auto industry. It doesn't refer to the bot or AI or robotaxi. So go ahead.
Nor energy.
I understand that. Yeah, I understand that. But I think it's all going to kind of be timed together. And the question I would have is, even when the moment arrives, is Tesla going to be effectively able to tell the story? Because right now, when the moment arrived with auto vehicles, they sold them. Like, they put them out there. There's a huge waiting list. They built them, they sold them, and they drove EV adoption. So the question is with V12, are they going to be able to craft that story and tell that story? I think they're hiring people. It looks like they're hiring some people in the background to be able to do that. That would be one question. The other thing, I think there could be a speed bump in the beginning, is just on the regulatory side. There's a lot of enemies of the company. There's enemies of the stock. There's enemies of the company. There's enemies of the. I mean, this is just facts. I mean, this is not like so. Would it be smooth sailing even if they have like the solution right in front of us? Like, it works. It's great. But then you're going to have people trying to game this. So I just think there's going to be a couple of speed bumps along the way. I don't know how to time them. I don't know how to do that. So that's why I continue to stay long in the name.
But don't you, Jeff, don't you concentrate on FSD here? Because one thing that gives me pause and where I feel the stability is coming from is energy. We know already there is a lot of revenue that hasn't been recognized, but that is already, piling up. So that is, for me, the element that will bring us from one wave to the other in a more stabilized manner. And I think you would have had to time it. It couldn't have been better. Obviously, we would love this energy revenue having it already recognized, but we know it's coming. So that helps me for this transition. And the other thing is, you're right. Nobody knows how to time it. This V12 ChatGPT moment can come today, tomorrow, in 3 months, in 3 years. I hope not. But I have the FOMO of being out at that moment, right? And I just feel like, no, I haven't been sitting here now for 3 years since March 2020 to be out at the moment that could come tomorrow, or maybe not. I feel like, that's too risky for me.
Yeah, and I'm saying the same thing too. The question is are they going to be able to tell that story? If you think about the other AI stories out there right now, they actually started as marketing plays. They started with the CEO, and they started as kind of like, you saw these commercials for like Copilot and Microsoft. It doesn't even work very well. And so the question is I'm just going to challenge to Tesla, like, are they going to be able to, like, once it's here, are they going to be able to tell the story? Are they going to rebrand? To me, a Tesla with full self-driving should almost be rebranded. It's almost like Model S AI or something. Now you have an AI-powered vehicle, and I don't know. I just don't know if they're up to that challenge of being able to tell that story. They're more focused on it, which is the great thing for us. Like, they're focused on the engineering and the solution. My question is, are they going to be able to tell the story when the time is actually here? And then the other thing you have to think about is, I think they have a pretty good lead on FSD, but at some point, there will be footsteps, and how will they manage that? And then I go back. So think about energy. You think of these other things. Well, why aren't they telling the story? Like, if there's all this revenue piling up, why wouldn't they put out And why wouldn't they put out any guidance on it for the year? I mean, there's no guidance at all on energy. So there's things I get concerned about, but I think I do agree with all of you, or most of you, that it's a difficult thing to time.
Yeah, and I mean, on communication, you're right. We've always said that. I mean, they could do a much, much better way of communicating. But that was true in 2020, 21, 22 as well, right? And then the stock soared. So I'm not forgiving them, because I wish they would. Now, they have hired, obviously, a team now to go into advertising, to go into communication. So, I mean, there is hope. Now, for energy, you have it in the numbers. I mean, if you go into details into the earnings of 2023 and especially Q4, you see exactly how much is piling up in it. But you're right. If you're not digging into it, nobody will ever know about it.
And the final thing I'll say is just the analyst community. Like we spoke with Dan Ives, we spoke with others, and you can label them all one way or another. They're some pretty bright people. There's a spectrum in every group of people, right? In terms of, well, but I mean, he said, like, basically for every 20 people he talks to in terms of funds that he speaks with, maybe one of them brings up FSD. And so the question is Tesla telling that story to the analyst community? Is it clear to them? Is it clear to, like, where the revenue could come in? There's this stage of FSD, and then there's eventually this stage of robotaxi. Is Tesla building up the story with that community? Or are they just like, we don't care about it. We're just going to go work on the solutions, and when they're ready, they're ready. But again, I would summarize it as when the moment's here, are they going to be able to tell the story and get the kind of market impact that they deserve? And then secondly, I think there's going to be a couple of speed bumps before it goes to fully ramp up. But I'm confident that they have the right economic solution and the right solution that can volume scale. It's just, are you going to be able to tell that story, and are you going to be able to get through these speed bumps to get it out there? So a lot of uncertainty.
And you're completely right with your concerns. Let me just put that in, because if FSD would have worked, let's say in 2020, it was by far the only AI play then. Nobody would have called it AI, but it was, the most astonishing thing a car would drive by itself. Now it's sort of in the middle of this huge lake of AI news, some of it worth the time and the attention, and most of it not. But it has become. You don't agree?
Yeah,
No.
No, and I want to push back as well.
Let me do it because it's me. The story today is AI boom, and the AI boom is large language generative AI, which is language, but also video. This is going to be the very first real world application of AI, right? This is the only application of AI. And even Jeff has been saying this for many shows now, that even if you look at ChatGPT and Bard and the others, or Gemini now, they make mistakes left, right, and center. But it doesn't matter, because it's just, it's a fun toy. Now, it's not just a toy. It's very, very productive. I've been big on that. It's actually helping companies be more productive. But this is an actual real world utilization. It's going to turn your car into a robotaxi in the future, FSD now, safer. So yes, it's a very different thing. It's not just, another AI story. I think it's big.
No, I'm not saying it's not big. I'm just the perception of people, the attention span of analysts, the attention span of the market. Will it be, perceived as being the singularly best application of it?
Yeah, and just to jump in real quick, I agree with a lot of everyone's points. Everyone knows my concerns. I've already talked about it. But getting to the AI piece, and you may not agree with this, but this is just the way I think about it. When you talk about like a Gemini, which I use, it's getting better, or a Grok or Copilot or whatever you're saying, no one's life is in danger if it makes a mistake. You can be productive with that, and if it gives you a wrong error or something silly, you move on to the next one and you become more productive. And we've already heard about that at Microsoft. It's making companies more productive. We heard what Nvidia is saying. People want this. They wouldn't want it in droves if it wasn't being productive. Amazon has talked about how it's making customers want to buy more because the experience is so much better. So that is starting to be proven out, and the money is starting to be generated. The problem with FSD, if they solve it, I don't think you need to really tell a story. It'd be nice to tell a story. It would support the stock, but if it's solved, the story will be told to the market because, okay, we're doing this, it's done, and the stock will take off. The problem is that regulations, one. Two, it can't be 99. It can't be, this thing has to be perfect. And I've talked about this a million times, but I don't think people appreciate it enough. If you're not perfect and people are on the roads and there's an accident here, an accident there is no way, and the public will spin it, and the enemies like Jeff talked about eloquently will spin it, and it will set the project back. It's not going to be easy for a car with no one in it just to be roaming around 24/7 doing whatever it wants unless it is foolproof, like 10, 20, 30 times better than a human. And I don't know if that's 6 months from now, a year from now, or 5 years from now. And guess what? No one else knows either. I don't even know if Tesla knows that when FSD will be ready. And if you think that you know or Tesla knows, I think you're kidding yourself, because I don't think anyone knows yet. If they're working on it, I think they're in the lead. I don't think anyone else is close to them, but it still can be a while before it's perfected, and you do have those regulatory hurdles. To me, that just is common basic logic, and I don't know, that's just the way I think about it.
Xander,
You can disagree with me. That's fine.
Let's have Xander chime in, please.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't think Tesla's interested in telling any stories or trying to convince the market of what they are actually doing. And I think it comes down to simple math. You have, just go back to what Elon discussed with the company. You're going to get units out, get these robots on the road, and you're going to push FSD to them when it's complete. So now there's something very interesting that's happened, and I mentioned this in Cyber Bulls. So now on our Tuesday space, so you have Tesla rolling out FSD 12 to randomized VINs where they have never done that before. They always sent it to the really experienced users. I think that's an important thing to digest and to understand. Like, that's different. Why are they doing that? So when it comes down to telling the story, I think that Tesla will do something very simple. I think they will push free FSD to, or make the offer to new purchasers, to existing purchasers, to subscribers, or whoever, to try it once it's ready. Really, their focus is, this shift into basically AI figuring out how to drive. That's really that's all we need to focus on. The reality is they are solving something that is incredibly complex. I just think about how you had, we used to type CD, to change a directory in DOS. You didn't have all of this there's graphics. None of this existed just 30 years ago. And you now have cameras that can tell a car which way to go. Just realize what Tesla is up to, and look at some of the competitors. Now you're hearing about other companies that are going vision only, and right now the hardware picks and shovels wins with the GPUs, and Tesla needs those GPUs. But I just tend to focus on what is Tesla doing? Are they looking to make their own GPUs without having to rely on Nvidia? Take fate in their own hands. Is it going to be perfect right out the gate? No. You have the way that they're going to change and manufacture cars and bring down the cost. Like, what happens when the fourth gen vehicle comes out and it is just 50% less expensive? What's the take rate going to be on that? So for me, it's that math of FSD and sure the cars as well. But I think yeah.
And if I may just add one thing for communication, Jeff, and I'm sure you will pick up on this one, is one thing that gives me really some comfort is that we now see some of Tesla's C-level executives more on Twitter, more on LinkedIn, on other social media, participating in the discussion, bringing subjects to us whenever something. It's Rohan, it's Drew. A couple of them, it's Tom Chu. I do believe they know the lack of communication and the the need we all have for good information and understanding where they are in different developments. And I think that's their way of addressing it. Is it conventional? Of course it's not, but that's Tesla, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the final thing we're just saying on FSD is like to launch this into production where it's actually it's already making money as a beta for Tesla. There's no question about that. But to actually launch it as a production thing, they are going to have to tell that story, because they're going to be people that are like, why should I don't want a robot buying me. Convince me that a robot should be driving me. I don't want a robot. Convince me that it's safe. Convince me that it's better than I am, and tell that story. And so I do think Tesla is going to have to be able to tell that story to consumers. They're going to have to tell that story to regulators, and they're going to have to be able to deal with all the noise and the people that, if there's issues, obviously during launch, like, and if you launch anything complex like this, there are going to be issues. So we're not trying to break this down in the show and figure out how they're going to launch FSD. All I'm saying is it's hard to say, like, for me to connect V12, which I'm also excited about. And like, I'm excited for what it is. Like, there's video coming in and we're controlling the car as an output. I think that's very exciting. I think Tesla should be out there, quite frankly. I know I'm confusing people. I think their solution is actually better than the other AI solutions that are in production, that have commercials on TV today, that whatever. I actually think it's a better product. But, and I think that their products are actually in beta, if you think about it, the way they perform. But they're telling that story, they're putting a package around it, and they're going to be monetized as AI. We're all coming back to what's going on with the stock, what's going on with the company. And I think they're going to be able to tell this story. They're going to have to put it together, and they're going to have to be able to connect this for people, that they've actually got this solution, and it's actually a kind of a bigger thing than anything else that's out there. But they're going to be able to convince people and get over those final hurdles. So it's going to be a little bit bumpy, but they can do it.
I want to add my 2 cents in this as well. So all of that is true. They need to tell a story. They need to make sure that's 100% correct. But you guys, this is the difference between investors, right? We have a different opinion. This is the single largest disruption of an industry. When FSD works and Tesla is able to have robotaxi, and let's forget even if you don't get to robotaxi, just the safest car in the world, and it can drive itself, and even if it's supervised driving, I'm just telling you that, okay, once they get to this point, you will not buy a single other car anymore, except for one that has this capability. So knowing how big of the market this is, and auto industry is I don't know what the number is, the 5th largest industry in the world, right? So because of that, investors will throw their money at this company. They already are. So a lot of the $200 stock price that we have today is made up of because of auto sales, and the other bit of it's because some people are making bets that FSD is going to work. Now, when people know that it's inevitable, there's going to be a gain in the stock. And once you understand how big of a market this is, then you realize this is a big deal. That's what I'm saying, that yes, you're right, all these steps have to happen, but if it's seen inevitable, and I just did a show with Larry Goldberg this morning, we'll publish it this weekend, and we showed at least 8 videos of FSD version 12 users showing how shocked they were that 12 was able to do something, an edge case that 11 couldn't do. One of the most exciting one was this guy he had his Tesla FSD 12 drive through an alley, because that's where he was trying to park to get to his destination, and he couldn't find parking. The car itself decided on its own to reroute itself, and then he was just watching what it'll do. It went around the block, went back into the alley. This time, because it had seen a parking spot the first time around, but it was trying to find a parking spot closer. It went around and then parked to that earlier parking spot that it had seen.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah,
that was
but I think we're
shocking.
This, but Herbert, I think we're saying this, like, when it happens, it's going to be a big deal. It's going to be transformational. Yeah. The biggest thing that ever happened. We both agree with that. It's more of the when. And Tesla's even stopped talking about Tesla. Wait, Tesla stopped talking about the when. They stopped guiding about when. And I think I think we have to be clear, like, both sides of the story. Like, V12 is exciting. Why did they stop talking about when V12 goes to product? Like, why did those promises stop?
Wrong.
It's like so you hit them when they say it, and you hit them when they don't say it. It's like I don't know. People should be
Well,
happy
you know,
that they're not saying anything
think,
anymore.
Jeff, I think, look, as an investor, look, I understand. Look, I don't say anything inevitable. Inevitable means this will happen definitely. And I don't know that anyone could say that robotaxi or FSD
Yeah, I don't
perfection
think anybody can say
is
that.
good.
Nobody can say anything is inevitable.
know.
Everything is a risk in the world. So there's nothing is ever inevitable. It's an impossible word. So
Fair enough.
don't
I'm
mistake
off
what
the
I'm
topic.
saying. Don't try to
I
take what I'm
wasn't
saying and
talking
take
to
it
you.
to
I
the
was talking to
extreme.
Xander. I was talking to Xander.
I'm just saying.
So
It's like,
Christian, I disagree. You said it has to be 100%, and then you even
Yes.
got Herbert to say it has to be 100%. How about
It does.
statistics? Wait, no, hold on a second.
No.
Do we not
No.
care about how many
Elon
deaths
said it
per
has to
year
be 10x, 20x better than a person.
in its final form?
It won't
but
get
if you're going,
approval if it's 99%.
hold on, let me.
it's
explain real quick.
99.999% is
If-
what it has to get
if-
to.
No, and add like
the
50 more nines to it before it gets approved.
No.
March of the Nines. That's
Yeah.
right. But look,
March of the Nines,
if you're gonna,
not
if we
59.
have supervised FSD right now, and you're going to have a software that makes it comfortable to be in it, all the current users are bragging about it nonstop. Your amount of time that you actually give any inputs, not just takeovers, but throttle blips or anything, a turn signal. Hey, I want to change lanes now. As those things come down, like with V11, I wanted the car to change lanes today on my way to get Chipotle, and it didn't. And that's not good. So once you have those things taken care of, you still have the supervisor. And now, your teenager, right? My son gets older, and do I want him to have FSD and supervise his driving and supervise his, cell phone usage and all of that to make sure that he focuses with this tank that's on the road? I think that's where it's going to go. And as people discover and understand, Jeff is right. The story has to be told, but I just don't think that that's the lever that they're going to pull. I don't think they're going to start telling, investors or media about it. I think they're going to go down the path of existing user base and making sure that all of that the take rate goes up internally before they go to the external.
Okay.
Good debate.
For sure.
Let's move on to the next topic. So there's probably more to talk about FSV12. I think we covered it. Let's go cover milestones and competitors and Ribbon and Lucid. So you guys know that I do these milestones. This is the 2023 milestones of what was accomplished in 2023. These are not catalysts. So very clear. These are not catalysts. No one's saying that once it hits this, that we're going to expect the stock to go up. I'm a milestone person. I'm a product. I follow product, and then delivery of certain features, certain milestone that's been achieved. It's not about stocks. So this is what happened in 2023. If you remember, oh my God, what a long year this was. The global price cuts way back in January 12th. And then you've got your Gen 3 platform reveal was just this year in 2023 or last year, 23. You got your master plan part 3, right? The Shanghai Megapack factory was announced in April. And of course, it's now launched. It was launched in December. That's very fast how quick that happened. People don't think about that. The Tesla bot has obviously skyrocketed where it is now. There was a demo in September. There was a Gen 2 reveal in December, right here, December 12th. So lots of things happening. This is my 2024 one. And then I wanted you guys to kind of look at this. I've not shared this with anybody yet, but basically here's the list. And at some point I'll release it, but I'd like to get people's feedback. We now know that Giga Nueva Leon groundbreaking is going to happen in March, or we're not sure yet, but that's sort of the most recent expectation that's going to happen. And then, of course, these are some of these guesses, what people think, right? There's going to be another demo of Tesla Bot. Very likely once a month they drop a demo. So probably in Q2, there'll be something that shows how fast it is improved autonomous. Lots of other bots are dropping demos of their bots being able to do autonomous tasks. So this is not that outrageous to think that. FSD beta being sent out, approved as a beta in China or Europe. We know that they've started hiring engineers, autopilot engineers in China. We know that they've been changing the laws and approval is happening imminently. So these are the things that we think might be happening, at some point in this year. So, I'll leave it open here, but yeah, anybody thoughts on, what they can accomplish in 2024? I guess one of my
That's a big
comments would be,
list.
it's a long list. It always is. And people go, yeah, 2024 is a lost year. So people are going, yeah, no, we don't, it's going to be a falling margins. We're not expecting much from Tesla. It's all in 2025, 26, when the bot and, Gen 3 might not even actually, Gen 2 car or compact car might actually, contribute to margins until 2026. So yeah, 24 is a dead year. There's still a lot of things that's going to be accomplished. And that's one of my points, right? Is that Tesla continues to hit these milestones. And so the stock does not follow. In fact, the stock falls. But then comes a point when these things all adds up. They've built a mega factory. They've actually launched it. There's going to be more energy products sent, right? AI days and a bot development. At some point, these things are going to happen.
Yeah, I think everything you're doing is good, Herbert. And I think, look, stock can do whatever it wants. If the market rips up, I'm saying Tesla can go up. It doesn't need to have a great earnings or anything like that. Like the stock could go up because the market's going up. What I'm saying with the milestones, it's great that you keep track, and I love that. But maybe a factory's coming next year with this certain thing. Like it needs to translate into something more tangible than I'm not being negative. I'm just saying, like, we heard about Mexico, we get all excited. Mexico still hasn't broke ground. Now it will, but we need to start building it, right? Then maybe more excitement will come. Just saying it's coming. Because I remember when Austin and Berlin was being built, and everybody was saying the stock's going to go crazy just on that. But the market works differently, right? In buyers and sellers, there's things that are known. Everybody knows. Like, and I saw you today, Herbert. You're understanding it perfectly, and you have. The market needs something it's not expecting, right? Like we know it's news when Mexico starts going, but everybody knows in the market, mostly if you're paying any attention, that Mexico's coming. So you need something that people are not. It's going to hit them out of left field, whether it's a surprise earnings, margins going up, like Jeff talks about, COGS exploding better than normal, demand picking up, and they don't do 2.1, they do 2.2 or 2.3, and margins are getting better. Then that could get the stock really rolling, right? Okay, we bottomed, and now we got all these other things going on to put the cherries on the top. So what I'm saying is you need something that we're not expecting, and you articulated, I saw one of your videos earlier today perfectly well. So I think you understand what needs to be done. Just the fact that something's coming, and in next year, like it should all be built in. I think that's a little not off base, because every company has things going on. Like you could build up Nvidia. You could say Google's got things going on. Apple's got vision goggles going on, and they're going to make it better, and they're going to turn it into sunglasses. Every company has a story. Every company has a great future that you could articulate in some way or the other. But at some point, it needs to translate down. And to Jeff's point, the story needs to be articulated and communicated well. And then it needs to funnel into the financials. And that's what's been missing with Tesla.
So
that's why the stock has kind of been flat.
Yeah, I thought I was clear. This is a milestone list, not a catalyst list stock. And then number two, I invest in companies that are innovation engines. I will invest in any of those companies you just mentioned because they're innovation engines. They create things. So if they can tell me, Nvidia and Google and others, here's what's coming, and they accomplish it, and then they keep innovating, you should invest in that company. That's why I'm doing Tesla. The reason I keep track of the milestone, and this is such a long, massive list, is actually you can't show me another company. You probably will, but I'm saying like maybe 5 other companies that is this busy. We're talking about energy milestones and bot milestones and AI milestones and car milestones and solar panel milestones and Tesla semi. You know what I'm saying? It's just so much that they're doing, and they keep innovating new stuff. So that's the point of what I'm trying to do is, you invest in a company that is delivering on innovation, could be late, but eventually delivers on it. Yeah. So this is not about the stock.
I wasn't knocking your milestones. Yeah, no, my initial thing saying I love the milestones. I was just I love it, and I'm agreeing with you, and I'm being positive. Tesla, there's no company trying to do what Tesla's trying to do. No one's trying to go for these hard problems like Tesla. I get all that, but I'm just trying to bring some context to what we do, a stock show, the equity Tesla, and not so I'm trying to bring it all together. So I agree with you that what they're going for long term is incredible, and the innovation is incredible. But at the same point, the milestones are there, and eventually they'll be ticked off. But at some point,
Yeah.
you can't keep talking about this is happening, and just you wait in 2026. Like, something has to happen.
Yeah, it's a difference between like what Larry Goldberg was saying. Like, this is a disruptive technology that's disrupting the business model. And so you don't look at your spreadsheets and you go, I got to see my earnings and therefore my stock's going up. This is a different kind of company. Now you're doing that because it's auto, right? You think that auto is mature. And so you're going, well, for auto to keep growing, well, you got to sell it. And I could tell you exactly how much I'm going to sell next year. But it's so disruptive. You're seeing it in front of your eyes. We're about to talk about Rivian, Lucid, Ford, GM, the Chinese car companies, they're dying, so many of them. And it's a bloodbath right now. Many car companies are dying. Many are succeeding. Brand new entrants are coming in. The ones who are copying Tesla's disruptive business model, the ones who can succeed, and then the ones who can get to scale quickly. So what's happening is, you're seeing it in front of your eyes, these guys coming, and yet you are still looking at, well, the auto industry is only going to sell this much this year. Who's going to end up the bulk of that? It's going to be Tesla, and their business model is such that they're disrupting it, which means that the existing legacies dies and it hands it off to the new entrants. And so that's why you'll see it's nothing happening to the stock, and then it'll pop big time. That's what's been happening to the stock.
Two comments on this. First off, I think nobody has this list in the community, and I think it's a great service for the community. A couple of things. It flashed up quickly, so maybe I didn't see it. But for me, as someone who's shipped product before, one of the things that's really defining, and I've talked about this on a couple of shows, is when they talk about design locking a particular major product line, like the compact or the bot. Because I think once they do that, you can probably add 9 to 12 months for them to put that into more higher volume production. So if that's not a milestone that tracks, I know they kind of just randomly come out and talk about that. Like they talked about on the Cybertruck in May of 2022, like, hey, we finally design locked the Cybertruck. And basically it was in production the second half of the following year. So that may be a milestone to consider. And then
compact robotaxi car unveil. Yeah, that would be the design lock.
Design lock. Oh, design lock. Oh, well, I mean,
call
it's
it
a very
unveil. Yeah.
Okay, it's a very specific thing in the industry, because when engineering, and it's not that the parts never change after that. It's like we have something that we're ready to now iterate on and get into production in about 9 to 12 months. So that's just something to think about. And the other thing is, I just go back to like where Tesla is right now, and kind of like you said, this could be a dead year, maybe. It could go one of a couple of different directions. It could be stagnant, but like I said, if they show that that COGS declines less than their pricing moves in Q1, which they may do, and if we get a little bit of a surprise or decent strength in volume, looks like Europe is pretty strong. Looks like China's off to a decent start, although the new year in February, and then North America looks like a mixed bag. But anyway, if they show any strength in units, if they show any strength in gross margins, I don't know. Last year, the stock doubled between May and July, and there really was. I mean, you talk about the supercharger agreements, but there was no dollars behind those agreements, and the stock doubled. So I think it's real, and EPS was coming down sequentially, quarter on quarter. So I think back to Christian's point, this is really difficult to predict. And I do like tying everything back. I think the milestones are important. But I think in terms of it being a dead year, I think it's really hard to predict. That's why I go back to my original comment. This is a very difficult stock to say you want to sit back and like time. Because right now,
Jeff,
it's like, okay, yeah.
You're not the only one, because I did my quarterly short seller analysis, and there's still hardly any short sellers. There's less than a day to cover the short sellers that are currently there. The number fluctuates between 75 million shares sold and 90 million, maybe 95. End of the year, we're at 82. January, we're at 90. There's not a huge movement of people shorting Tesla anymore. And I think that just shows that everybody, even the ones that are not bullish, they don't want to put their money on being bearish. And I think that's the key point with Tesla. Either you want to be in it, or at least you want to be neutral. You don't want to short it.
Yeah, you would. That's why you wouldn't have a short squeeze with if there aren't enough shorts. I was going to say that there's, that list shows that there's a lot of things baking for a car company, and you label it that. Well, none of us would be here if Tesla wasn't working on all of these things, or still be here if Tesla wasn't, trying to accomplish that. And then you saw the stock had a $400 number on it, and now we're sub 200. That's what was baked into that number besides free money and interest rates and all of that, right? FSD was really the thing that kept getting promised, and now they're not guiding on revenue. They're not guiding on anything.
Alexander, you made a really good point. You made a really good point when we prepared the show, saying, the Max 7, it's all good, but they're all at all-time highs. And at one moment, people will try to find the laggards, and the best laggard in the market is Tesla. Maybe you want to explain it better than I can.
No, that's the perfect. I mean, look, right now wow. Nvidia's up to 797, 1.5% after hours. You have SMCI that was up like what 30% or something, right? So all the sympathy plays with Nvidia is going up. Someone that got mentioned in the earnings call is Dell, which I was like, are they still a thing? But they're up 7.86% today. So there's a lot of stuff happening at this moment, but where do you want to? I want to skate where the puck is going, and if solving FSD is really the thing, Tesla will inevitably, here's a word that Christian loves, inevitably, Tesla will get credit for it, right? They will, because right now they have no credit at all, and Elon has made this stock like a do not touch from so many, from every single side. And
tell us more about that.
So, what do you mean?
No, I love that.
So what do you
break it down a little bit?
What do you all think about this theory that he's actually trying to keep the stock low?
Yeah.
Do you give this any?
No.
I used to not, but I'm starting to
soften
soften a little bit. But yeah,
that would be.
I hope that proxy comes soon.
That would be a disaster. So again, to Xander's point. So I agree with him, but let me, give my experience. Market leaders can lead for a long time, right? Like just because Nvidia's up doesn't mean it can't keep going up, because the earnings keep going up. And if Tesla's earnings keep staying flat or go negative, and it keeps that way, it's not just going to magically go up because let's buy the cheaper stocks get cheaper. In order for a stock to move up, you need more buyers than sellers. And right now, it's a market of stocks. And more buyers are buying Nvidia, buying whatever, Microsoft, whatever, you name it, whatever's moving, Chipotle. And they're not buying Tesla, because right now, Tesla doesn't look like it's a great investment. So what needs to happen, and I agree with you, it doesn't need to be solved, but something needs to change. I like it. Something needs to change. It doesn't need to hit the financials for the stock to move. I agree. It'll front run it. But something needs to change. Either an earnings, but we need to know about it. An earnings report where Tesla breaks out FSD, and they could see, look, our take rate's exploding. It's getting so good, and we've generated X off it. Oh, buy the stock. It's getting better. Something of that. It's not just going to be a magical, everybody come together. We saw some videos. Let's go buy the stock. We've been watching videos for 5 years. Every version, it's mind-blowing until it's not. And V12 is great promise, but if in 2 weeks, people are complaining about this and complaining about that, and it's great, it's much better, but it's not quite there. And the reason I know we're not robotaxi ready, because if they were in V12 right now, people would be shouting from the rooftops on X, it's done. This thing is unbelievable. Next year, for sure, we don't hear any of that. It's better. It's a little smoother. It does this wrong a little bit, but it's way better than V11. V11 sucked. We're hearing that. So until I hear, and I do my research on, until I hear this is a done deal, they've got it, which I have not heard yet, it's still a work in progress and it still could take some time.
Okay. My thing is I'm waiting for the compensation proposal for Elon.
That's the thing.
What
That's
was on the
lagging over
card?
the stock too.
What was on the card? It was blurry and pixelated. We couldn't see.
Yeah.
Your favorite word, Alexandra. You're all over the proxy and the annual
You have
meeting.
no idea how much I'm going to love reading this one. I actually think it should come out any day now, because if you do this calculation, this is so complicated, how the calendar works from one annual shareholder meeting to the next one. And we're in the last few days when it should be published. So that's I'm really looking forward to that one. And then it all depends whether they're going to do 2 this year. I mean, I know you've missed me talking about this crap, right? Governance, wasn't that it?
No,
so I think there could be this year 2 shareholder meetings, because I don't think they can they have prepared everything early enough to bring it into this one. But there is a date to it. If you had it last year in May, you have to do it this year in May, and you have to publish the proxy so many days before, depending on the date it was last year. It's, I mean, only the SEC could have come up with something like that. So I do believe it's going to come soon, and I hope that we'll have details of Elon's compensation package 2024 in there, and we may obviously have then information about what may happen into 2018. But given where we are with Delaware, given that they are trying to negotiate with the lawyer and all that, I do believe 2018 is too early for this shareholder meeting.
That's too bad. Because you're right. I think that's the key thing, right? That has to be resolved. That's step 1. And then everything that Christian was talking about needs to happen step 2. Yep. They need to regain kind of like that stuff too. So let's switch to a topic that's going to be fun, which is, humanoids among us, right? What is the world like when there's humanoids? This is a list that Scott Walter, Søren Basher, I help contribute as well to kind of put a lay of the land of what's happening in the humanoid bot market. Of course, Tesla's there. Don't pay attention to the order. That's not what the point is. It really is very much like, just our own analysis of what we've heard from kind of like what they publicly showed out there. And these are the ways that we're looking at it, right? There's, look at, did they drop a bot video? These are humanoid bots, right? The first ones here are European, North American, and then the ones in red are the Chinese. Then you've got, do they have intention for commercial focus? You can see that Boston Dynamics has not yet said that their Atlas is going to be a commercial focus at all. And so people keep referring to them, but they're not really at all a competitor at this point. Walking publicly, showing hands, demoing useful work. And then, of course, the AI integration. Have they been able to show autonomous work? And are they announcing on pilots that they're doing and eventually deploying bots? So this is still years away, of course. But having said that, you also know that bots are happening faster than we realize. You had Brett Adcock of Figure kind of say that, shockingly, you thought that AI, the autonomous work, would be the last thing that they solve and it'll be the rate limiting step. It's actually the opposite. The ability to do autonomous work is happening sooner than even them finishing the hardware of the bots, which he believes he'll have his bot ready by 6 months from now. And of course, Tesla, you saw Gen 2. It looks like it's pretty at the point where it's very close to final design before they go scale. And both companies have announced that they're going to go scale by next year. You got Digit that's already building a factory with 10,000 bots. So just for fun, what do you guys think? I mean, what's the world like? Can you imagine a world where there's humanoid bots walking among us?
It's very exciting. I mean, more
Are you
than
excited?
me. You dove into it. But me, it's just when I think of Tesla, like I know it's out there, but the most exciting for me is bot. Like, I don't know how practical that is, but for me, that's what I envision. Like Tesla's big. I mean, FSD is big, but for me, bot is just easier to understand, right? You have an assistant. And I think you're kind of similar, Herbert. You're big on humanoids in general. And so it's very exciting. And the one thing is, all those companies, the public company you can invest in, if you want to invest in humanoid, because most people can't do private deal, right? Like you got to invest in Tesla, right? Because they're the one company that if you want to invest in that future of humanoid robots, you pretty much have Tesla, that you really depend on can do it. Like Boston Dynamics, they're fine, but it's like, are they even public anymore? Didn't they get bought out by someone, Hyundai? So I don't know how you would play that, but the easiest, the most obvious play if you want to play humanoid is to buy Tesla stock, because they're the one that probably has the best engineering for it. They have the scale, they have the money to accomplish it, and they're the only big company actively pursuing it. So they have everything, all the ingredients to make it work. Still going to be a tough problem, but if you want to invest in that, Tesla's the place to be. And I think as they, I may be wrong on this, but if they do more of these demonstrations, I do see, it doesn't move the stock, but I see little blips, right? You can see when they drop these videos, you get excitement from people, you get, so that could be enough where you see, getting back to like a catalyst, like if you see the robot, it might not hit the financials, but if most of the majority of the public can say, wow, look at what this is doing. I could see this in 2 or 3 years actively helping me or my sick grandmother, do certain things, or like, then you get that little aha moment, and eventually it'll trickle to the financials. That's when you get the real thing. But you can get the initial beginning of a nice rally on the promise that this thing is going to be very valuable to society. So I'll just say that.
And I would like to add, Christian, you're right. They have everything, and they have the use case. Because what Figure did, and Herbert, you know this much better than I do, is do a partnership with BMW, right? So, and that's all good, but it just limits straight away the scale, right? And you have to understand what your clients wants, and you have to program build the computer, build the humanoid to do what BMW thinks they want. So many sources of error until you then have the use case. With Tesla, you have the use case straight away. There are factories and they need labor, and there you go. So I don't think there is any other player in that whole list Herbert showed, and which is really great list that you should. I think CERN actually did tweet it at one moment. I have to find that, but yeah, it's absolutely astonishing. And as you can see, and I know you didn't do it by order, but Figure and Tesla are the ones that have the most of the lines filled out, and the ones that Tesla doesn't have filled out is the language and voice integration and the pilot programs. But the pilot for Tesla is Tesla. Those bots, Optimus, are going to work in the factories, are now maybe already working in the factories. So, and that's a much bigger use case for a pilot than any of the others ever will have.
Yeah. I was actually asking the question of what is the world going to be like with humanoids?
I can't imagine it. I mean, I can imagine in my head, but I can actually, I'm not there yet. I need a little bit more, it's a couple more years, and I need to see a little bit more. I know it's coming. I could imagine it, but I'm just not sure how I would use it. Like, I don't know if that I would use it in my life.
But do you think there will be a retail use initially for broad consumers? Because I don't think so.
You're right.
Yeah.
But eventually it will be. But I think that's farther down the road.
So, Xander, tell us your retail use.
The top 3 segments that many of the bot vendors are citing is obviously factory work, right? That's clear.
Right, yeah.
The second one is actually surprisingly elder care.
Yeah.
So that would be in retail. That would be in a consumer home. And the third one is space, or obviously other kind of industries. But it's shocking that elder care is right now number 2.
Well, because there's so much need, right?
Yeah,
I mean, there are millions of jobs that can't be filled at the moment.
Right, because who wants to like clean up, somebody's, and do all that? It's hard work, and it's difficult work. So that's why it's hard to get people. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope my team members don't watch the show, but I can't wait to replace them with the robot to clean, cut fruit, and pour yogurt, and clean, and say hi, and clean. People can basically bring themselves up. But like, I think about, we had people in the community talking about like semis, and how there's no way you can have a platoon of semis delivering goods across the U.S. because you need a human to open the gates, or unload the back with pallet jacks and bring the goods in. What happens when, that industry is completely solved and you don't no longer need a human to do that job, because there's a huge shortage of those people. So I think that, humans will accept it. It is kind of wild to think about that, what is it? iRobot is going to be among us and in our lifetimes. I don't have any doubt that that's going to happen. As a kid, I dreamed about it, but I can completely see robots walking among us. And some people are scared of as soon as I tell them, have these conversations with my wife, she brings up Terminator and all of that stuff. But I think that if it's done, right, and there's all the safety precautions necessary, I think it'll be incredible how big that TAM goes. And that's why I've been over the last month, and with the stock price especially, I've just been thinking, I wish I would have sold it all at 250. But then you kind of pause and you think and you go, wait, well, the thesis was 2030. Why am I getting all impatient? And it's obviously easy to see Nvidia climbing and how much it could have made, but that's hard. Not everyone can pick stocks and only have winners like Christian.
True.
I have time to, and I love doing it. So, and yeah, you're right. It's not for everyone, but I enjoy it.
We'll
It's
talk
worked out.
2030, Christian. We'll talk 2030.
But yeah, I don't have 2030 to make my first dime. I got to be moving.
I mean, the Nvidia success, the large language model success like OpenAI, these are all amazing stories for Tesla. For Tesla to use that for robotaxi, to use that for the bots. Tesla themselves have their own Dojo chip, and it is not as delayed that everybody thought it was. It is absolutely not. They're hiring people. They're continuing to grow that. They're talking about version 1.5, 2, and 3 of Dojo. So it's all good stories. I think that the future, I'm already starting to think about what's happening. I formed an organization with CERN and Dr. John Gibbs and Scott Walter called Humankind, and it's a nonprofit advocacy group. And so what we're telling you, somebody like you, a store owner, Xander, is that you would then be able to have money that you can use to retrain your staff, to re-educate them. And now you can open up many more stores, and then you can have your staff that you currently hire now to manage them or manage those stores one at a time. You know what I'm saying? Like, it actually lets you not replace them. It lets you reposition them. And that's sort of one of the things that we're working on, is make sure that those kinds of conversations start to happen. Policies are put in place. There's, vendor cooperation, and then just making sure the society benefits out of this. I'm optimistic about what the world with humanoids are going to be like, but obviously it's very scary, right? Because on the way there to this utopia that we all think is going to happen, there's going to be a lot of destruction. There's a lot of people losing jobs and lots of things. It's going to be painful. So how do we?
But there are also so
transition
many
on the way?
jobs. There are also so many jobs currently not filled, right? People always wonder whether people will be replaced. But first use is that there are millions and millions of jobs not filled at the moment. And those are the ones I think they're targeting.
Yeah, one of the policies that Humankind, this organization we're promoting, is this idea, and you'll love this, Alexandra, similar to H-1B visas, right? A company can't buy a bot until they first put a job posting out and show that it was not filled, and then they can then buy a bot. That's sort of one of the policies we'd like the job vendors and companies to adopt in order to make sure that it's only filling the jobs that nobody really wants.
And I think that's where the regulators come in. You remember I said earlier today that robotaxi for me is one of the doubtful things because there's this regulator element in it. But with bots, it's the same. Regulators will try to step into this, be it only for taxation. They don't want, because obviously on labor there's a lot of taxation. There's a lot of money for the states to be made on labor. And if suddenly there are bots, if it stays as it is, there is a loss for all the treasuries. And so they will step in and will find ways of taxing it, but also of regulating it. And you're right, one of them may be to prove that you cannot make redundant somebody unless you have really proven that you can't find anybody who fills this particular job. And there are millions of jobs,
Millions.
very
There's so
tiring
many.
jobs, very repetitive jobs, etc., that are going to win from that. But the money, the job, the store owners or the employers will make on the automation should be invested in training their human employees into, improving, managing, moving up the ladder, and then we'll have a success story.
Yeah.
Great
Herbert?
points, Alexandra. Great points.
No, thank you. No,
And
thank you.
Xander wants to fire everybody.
Come on.
I'm glad Herbert
Hold
stepped
on.
in. Xander is ruthless. He wants to get rid of
No,
everyone. I mean, I never, this is a bad movie. What are you doing, Xander? I'm counting for Herbert and Alexandra. Xander's out. Xander's out.
So
He don't care about humanity. He cares about his pocketbook.
weren't there like a bunch of humans that were like horse people when the automobile came along, and weren't there a
Right.
bunch of elevator operators that were displaced?
Didn't
Like,
you just say you want to fire your staff?
Yes, I want to fire all of them. I want to replace them with a robot that doesn't use their cell phone, that doesn't make excuses, that doesn't ask for time off, that doesn't call in sick, that like does their job no matter what, like I did. But not
I like
everyone
Herbert's
has
idea better. I like Herbert's idea.
Just wait for that
No,
they can
California
manage them.
employment agency. You just wait.
It's
Well,
a,
that's
it's,
like
it's
what, a decade out anyway, at least.
crazy future that we're headed into. Okay. Well, that was fun. Thank you guys very much. So let's join us again every Friday. We drop this Cyber Bulls. Appreciate it, everybody. Bye-bye. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.